Live. Welcome, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Welcome to another episode of the Rise and Grind Show, Building Your Brand Part 2. How to add value, profitability, and purpose on and off the clock. I'm your co-host, Duncan Harrison. I'm here with my main man from Qatar. Tell them who you are.
Peace and blessings, everybody. It's your man, Jay Tyler, live and direct from Qatar, ready to have an interesting, fun, and engaging show today. So I'm not going to hold you too long, right? So without further ado, let's do what we came here to do. You dig? Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, we have an awesome show tonight with a awesome group of panelists. That show was actually so popular that we had to do a part 2 to the show, talking about how to build your brand. Definitely going to get into some Robinhood tonight. I know the panelists didn't know it, but we got to talk about branding around that and what's going on. What's going on with them would only be right to talk about that. So before we get into the show, I definitely want to take the time to introduce this awesome group of panelists. So we can start first with Mr. Titus Ash. Could you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
Hi, good evening, viewers. My name is Titus Ash. I'm founder of Midian Career Services, which is a career transition and consulting firm for professionals who've either been displaced or looking to get to the next level of their career.
Very nice. Glad to have you. Thank you for coming on the show. Definitely very excited to have you.
Definitely.
Next, we're going to have up Mr. Al Thompson. Please tell our viewers who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Al Thompson. I'm the bar director for Hanuman and TipCow here in Washington, D.C. I'm also the co-founder of DC's finest cocktail collective. We go up and down the East Coast representing DC culture through cocktails. And then I also founded Experience Cocktail Club, where we go about showing people cocktail experiences that you won't find anywhere else. Whether that's 2 cocktails in 1 glass, cocktails that fly. It's about creativity, beauty, and science. So that's that.
Wow. I think I don't want to skip right over that. He said cocktails that fly. I'm not even sure exactly what that is. But
That's that new, you know?
Right. I'm not even sure what that is. But I have been practicing my old fashioned. So maybe after this, you could give some more tips to myself and the viewers.
Absolutely.
All right. And next we have Miss Jasmine Ogunukwu. I think I said that correctly, but if I didn't, please.
It's just fine. I was hoping you didn't call me first, and I love how you didn't do the ladies first thing tonight. So thank you for that. Yeah. I'm glad coming last. My name is Jasmine Onyuku. I am a productivity, peak performance, and leadership consultant and coach. I currently work with high-performing business leaders, founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and their teams. My job is to ensure that 24/7 they're peak performing and they're building their lives and businesses in the most sustainable way possible. And I'm excited to share my thoughts on building your personal brand today.
That's awesome. Awesome. Definitely. As Jasmine said, we're going to take you to your peak performance tonight. Okay. So stay tuned. Rock out with us all night. Don't go anywhere. We got some very good information. And so before we get into it and start taking questions, from the viewers as well as, our own questions, because, we are the moderators here. We want to get into a little clip from Gary Vee on, should I develop a personal brand or a business brand? And if you don't know who Gary Vee is, you should definitely get to know who Gary Vee is on YouTube or Instagram. All right. So let's get to it.
Definitely.
Would you do a travel blog under the name of a blog, or would you develop a personal brand within the travel space?
I would develop a personal brand within a travel space, because one of the most important vulnerabilities that people create for themselves is they niche themselves in the world as, I'm the Southeast Asia guy, and then it's 40 years later and you want to be the Europe guy, or you want to be the basketball guy. Building your name is a much, much better way to go. Look what happened with me. If my Twitter handle was wine guy, I would have had to go through that branding transition. And even without that, just being Gary Vaynerchuk, it was tough for me to become a business personality to hundreds of thousands of people because they had me as a wine guy. I always think you develop your name because life is long and this is a forever game.
Right. Yeah. And my main reason for asking was because it was more of a niche blog. Like I was looking at something like Let's Travel America.
Yep.
And looking at doing, and I about 97%, sure that I wanted to focus on U.S. and domestic travel and stuff. So that's why I was kind of wondering whether to do it under the name or do it like, build your
name, but build up the show name too. I have an Ask Gary V show and this and that. There's Gary V, there's Gary Vaynerchuk. This is where people overthink, but I do think your name gives you flexibility.
Yeah, and it's been bothering me a lot, and
well, it shouldn't bother you anymore. It's over. No more bothering. Good?
I'm good, man.
Good, man. Good. Awesome.
I love it. Answer your question. Now go ahead and get out of here, right? No more questions.
Shut them down.
So listen. Just when you thought we were done, we're not. We have one more panelist that we like to bring to the stage to introduce himself, Mr. Jason Butcher. Please
how you doing? How's everybody doing?
All right.
All right. Good to see you, Justin. Good to see you, Titus.
You too.
Good to see you, Jason.
How you doing, Duncan, Jasmine, Al?
Yes, sir. So, Jason, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and what expertise you're going to bring tonight to the show.
Okay. Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I started out my entrepreneur, I guess, mentality at a very young age. Started to do, I guess, my first opportunity to do anything in the entrepreneurship realm is high school, selling candy and all types of stuff in high school. And then I went on to start DJing. DJing actually boosted that want to work for myself.
Nice.
Started out just doing clubs and, parties around the way. Went on to do colleges and start doing corporate events. Then followed by that, got into the wedding industry and started doing more corporate events. And that led me to getting into the restaurant industry. So got into the restaurant industry around 2018. We opened up Gold Room in Brooklyn. I've been doing that for a few years. Since the pandemic, I opened up another business, a trucking company. So I just been doing a lot. I have a lot of experience with opening businesses. All of my businesses are still open. They're still running. I just keep opening up businesses until one of those makes me a millionaire. So that is the plan. But I would say that my main business, which is the production company, we DJ, we do photo booths, we do lighting, sound production. That has been my main source of income for the last, I would say, 8 years. I've been on my own. I haven't worked for anybody. But before that, that's where my majority of my experience is. So, from DJ to the, I guess to restaurant tour to now owning a trucking company. So done a lot. I've done a lot. Always still learning how to improve myself, improve my brand. But I do have a lot of experience to bring to the table as far as, a panel and things like that. So you guys can ask me any questions. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared for this. I honestly thought this was in February, and that's my this is in February. I thought there was one. I know there was one before. I watched it on YouTube, but I thought the next one was in February. So
no worries. Appreciate you really coming on. We really appreciate you doing that. I have a question for you before I get into the questions, though. Right? Something you said, and I thought about it immediately. So remember Nadeska, she looked at Soulja Boy and said, "How come you have all these businesses?" Right? Was it her? I think she said that.
Yeah.
So anybody asked like, why you have all these businesses? Oh yeah, academic. Somebody asked them, why you have all these businesses, right? And so does anybody ever ask you that? Like, why are you starting all these businesses?
Well, the funny thing is, right, when it comes down to business, right? I started DJing because and I'll just give y'all I'm gonna give y'all the raw real. I did a talent show in high school. And everybody that performed in the talent show got home and they got home with nothing. They got sent home with nothing. I was rapping, I was writing in my rhyme book, and the only person that got paid that night was the DJ. So, you know, what I thought of in high school, I said to myself, that's who I want to be, because that person got paid no matter what. Everybody, you know, some people took home a prize. It was like $100 gift card, something crazy. It was something light. And I said, you know what? I want to do that because that person definitely got paid. The reason why I started the restaurant is because I dabbled in real estate. My cousin had a business doing real estate, and he sold a building to a guy that had a restaurant underneath. And he said, listen, Jay, we can make this a hookah lounge. And I said, listen, that's right up my alley. I have the promotion already. I have the people. I have the following. You know, we can do this. So we got some investors together, opened up the lounge. It ended up being a restaurant because New York City's hookah lounge laws is they changed it as of 2017. But long story short, I've opened up businesses based on opportunities. And when life throws you an opportunity, you know, it's up to you to be, I said, prepare. I always say preparedness will always meet the opportunity. So a lot of people expect things to fall in their lap, but when they do fall in their lap, they're not ready. They're not prepared. One thing that I learned is that, you know, having good credit and having capital ready for opportunities like that is very important. So a lot of people, they spend the money that they earn on their business. Even if you open up one business, they spend that money and they buy the nice things. My thought process is a little different. My thought process is I need to use that money and leverage it to open up another business and another business and another business. Now I got 3 kids. You see this, it says strong Black father, right? 3 kids. So my thought process in that is I have 3 kids and each one of them needs a business to be passed down. I was never given that opportunity. You know, I'm from Brooklyn originally. And, you know, my childhood was a little different. You know, I'm an 80s Brooklyn baby. So it's very different. And Titus could tell you, he knows what I'm talking about. Brooklyn was very different back then. So I will continue to open up businesses. And I think that we have to, you know, it's not only the money part, but you have to understand that your value, no one's ever going to pay you what you're worth. You know, nobody's going to pay you what you're worth, or else they wouldn't have you doing it. You know what I mean? They're going to pay you enough for you to get by and them to make, you know, to succeed as well. So, you know, I use that to say Soulja Boy was right. You can never have enough businesses. I would be asking somebody else, why don't you have a business? And there's also a lot of tax loopholes that we don't discuss. You know, we as people don't discuss to owning businesses, and there's ways to leverage each business. So to answer your question, I love when people ask me that, and I'll continue to open up a business as long as I have an opportunity and I have cash flow and capital to leverage. I'll make it happen.
Definitely. Well,
my man came in on fire.
Put
you on the screen. We didn't even get to the questions yet.
No.
He wasn't even ready. He said, "I'm coming though."
I'm not. Listen, I wasn't prepared. I didn't get a chance to write anything down. I had a whole thing I would have wrote down and you know and kind of talk to you guys about, but I didn't get a chance to do that. So whatever questions you have, I'm just gonna answer to the best of my ability.
Well, Jason, as they say, you know, in the supermarket, you know, organic is better. You know what I'm saying? So don't even worry about the preparation. So let's get into the questions too, because I know Jason already touched on this, but for everyone else on the panel, the early days of your journey, what was that like? What even started you to get into the path that you're on now? So talk about that and let the viewers know how that experience was for you. So Jasmine, you can start first.
Great. So I started my business. I keep saying that I started it out of necessity. I was a new mom, and I felt the need to support my family. And I, went back home, did a soul search, and started asking myself, what do you love? And I realized I love to organize. I get into a cluttered space, and my brain goes into coordinating kind of mode. So clutter doesn't scare me. So I started asking questions, and it was a common struggle. People had cluttered homes, cluttered businesses. So that's how I started my business. First, I was going into residences and cleaning up kitchens and closets in children's rooms. But I've over time evolved in my business model. I moved from doing residential to doing businesses, their physical environment. So I would organize like medical offices and legal offices. Then right now, what I do majorly is training, coaching, and consulting. I do more of the mental work for people who lead a business. So the way they think, in their self-awareness, their personal development, that's where I've evolved to. And the principles still remain the same. When you go to organize somebody's home, there are a couple of questions you have to ask them, how they're prioritizing, how they're setting goals and planning and all. So that's how my business has evolved. I started basically I just being responsible, supporting my family, but over time I found purpose. When I started, it wasn't based off of purpose, but now I know that the world needs what I bring, and there are people whose lives will be devastated, or people who will struggle because I don't show up. Yeah,
that's interesting. That's interesting. And I think people need to hear that as well. I think people can resonate with what you just said right there. People can have similar experiences for sure. All right. Titus or Al, you can take it away.
Sure. For me, really, at the time I was working in corporate, I was working for the Apollo Group, and one of the main parts of their portfolio, or companies in their portfolio, was the University of Phoenix, and I was a regional representative for them in the Northeast as part of their Workforce Solutions division, which was a new division that they rolled out to work with the Fortune 500 companies to help them educate their workforce. And through that opportunity, I was able to visit a lot of different companies. I visited everyone from Johnson & Johnson to Estee Lauder to Pfizer, Hitachi, you name it. I had an opportunity to meet with representatives in their leadership, but also people who were working in mid-level management and all the way down to, entry-level workers. And what I found is that there were a lot of people who were still trying to figure out what was their next step in their career. So I thought to myself, how can I, obviously this is a gap in the market, a need that needs to be serviced. How could I go about possibly helping people in this particular step? And that's when I began formulating the concept for Midian Career Services. From that role, I then went on to another education company where I was a director. And in that role, I was working with a lot of younger folks and also, I guess, younger managers. And they were trying to figure out how to develop themselves and elevate themselves in a corporate environment. And I saw a lot of the struggles that they were going through. So taking a look at what was going on in that particular dynamic, I said that, this is something that I can incorporate as well. There are a lot of people who are just trying to figure out not only how to elevate in their career, but, trying to figure out, the best ways to go about it. And I wanted to make sure that I found a way to do that. So, in 2014, actually, I started building out, incorporating the company, working on branding and marketing materials. I actually started to build everything out before I even launched, before I even did the serious grunt work or the serious parts of the launch. Stepped out on my own, and it's been very good. I feel that a lot of times people are afraid to step out on their dreams, afraid to take risks. And you have to overcome that fear if you're going to be independent and unplug yourself from the umbilical cord of corporate. So there was a lot of self-empowerment behind this move as well.
Nice.
All right. Thanks for sharing that. Al, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of started with the idea of starting Experience Cocktail Club because I was working at a really well-known Michelin star restaurant, and I kept thinking about how we were using our ideas to promote the restaurant. So once I became a leader at that place, I kept thinking I shouldn't be giving my ideas to someone else that make money off of those things. Let me go ahead and make money off my own ideas. So I started Experience Cocktail Club to bring the creativity I was giving away to other people, but to make it for myself. So that's how that started. And then I started DC's Finest because my cohort of bartenders, people that I came up with, people that I was growing with, we all became bar directors, bar managers, leaders, and we needed to hire staff. We couldn't find really talented staff. So the idea was to create a pop-up series where you would mentor younger bartenders from the area, and kind of you can be able to find staff for your friends' bars, but also you can make other people better. It gives them a chance to work with more experienced bartenders that they probably wouldn't have the opportunity to do because everyone else is like them. They've only been bartending for 3 years, and they can't find that experience, they can't find that knowledge, they have no one to bounce those questions off of. So it became a leadership and mentorship program, as well as a cocktail program. So that's how I'm gonna start.
And Al, I was gonna say, like, I remember in college, and I never even seen you drink one time. Yes. I'll be honest with you. So when I saw you that like you're a bar director and you're really branding yourself heavy out in the DMV area, I was shocked. I said I never even seen this man have a drink in college. So it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how it came about because started bartending and got in the bar industry. I was a paralegal and I was going out a lot, partying a lot, spending some of my money. I was like, I still want to go out and party, but how do I make money instead of spend money? I can be a bartender. I can still go out and have a good time. Still on. I'm still partying, but I'm making money. Right. So that's kind of how I got started. So.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. That makes sense. I didn't know it came full circle now. That's explanation. Yeah. So cool. So this is the follow-up question that I have as well, because on that journey, we all can't do it alone, right? When we, find out like what our passion is and then how we're running, there got to be certain people along the way that give you some tips, help you out financially, just gave you some wisdom, right? Things that you couldn't see around the corner. But with this person or this place or thing, it could inspire you. So who were some of the people along your journey that gave you that inspiration, that gave you that knowledge, or just that confidence to keep going? So anyone can jump in.
I had advisors, definitely. I always say my husband is like my chief strategist. So every time I take my ideas to him, I get to brainstorm first with him before with anybody else. So for one person who's been consistently there for me to help me fine tune whatever new ideas I was coming up with, whatever new structure I wanted to give my business, it was my husband. I also had advisors, like senior, older people in my circle that I looked up to who had succeeded in their own business and professional careers. I'm the kind of person who looks out for people like that consistently because I love to, harness their depth of wisdom and insight. So I would think any young person out there or any entrepreneur trying to build a business, you need to always leverage or, glean from the depth of wisdom of the people who've done it before you, made their mistakes, and so that the pitfalls that they had, you don't have to fall into.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so Jason.
I was gonna say, definitely, I gotta shout out my wife. She's been great support, especially with me starting so many businesses. She's always been there, just to bounce ideas off of. I agree. You definitely got to start off with just bouncing ideas and things in your immediate circle. A lot of my frat brothers also, my LBs, we do bounce a lot of ideas around all the time in group chats and things like that. So I look to those guys, for information or insight on any new plan that I have or any new business I have, before I look to anybody else, mostly family and then close friends. Another thing is social media, reaching out to people that are doing whatever you're doing or doing what you plan on doing, and kind of following them, and then maybe, commenting just to kind of get let them get familiar with your brand. And then also don't be afraid to reach out and DM, ask questions. I've even asked to shadow somebody, their day-to-day at a restaurant to see exactly what they were doing, how they got started and things like that. So just reaching out to people that's already doing something that you're doing, I think is very important, because you need that guidance, you need that mentorship. Anybody can figure out ways to make money in any business, but also figuring out a way to save money and not lose it is very important. I think, you got to kind of work backwards, find out what your goal is, reach out, to people that are already doing that, and then kind of figure out how do you get there. So I think that's very important to have that support system and have people around you that you could bounce ideas off of, and that'll support your dreams.
Definitely. Let me jump in here as well. Let me give a shout out to my wife. You know, we're gonna give a shout out to her.
Just in case they see it later, right?
Because I often bounce ideas off of her as well. And so sometimes she bounces them back, but you know, the stuff that's actually good that sticks, you know, she rocks out with. So definitely let me give a shout out to her as well.
Shout out to both of your wives for sure.
Yes,
For sure.
Your husbands too. So.
All right.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, my wife was also very, instrumental in providing support. I also had the help of a mentor who was an executive, and he really, took the time out to help develop me in areas that I wasn't previously developed in, and also provided a lot of, insight and knowledge in terms of, what this process was going to look like for me if I decided to step out on my own. And he was always very positive, very inspiring. And I think that it's important for you to have, if you do have a mentor, or if you don't have a mentor, to find a mentor that can give you that advice, that insight, and that support, so that when you go out there, you don't go out there and perform poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would actually agree 100% with Titus. I actually also had a mentor that was very instrumental in helping me. And it's funny because I didn't go looking for that mentor. That mentor kind of found me. And I mean, until this day, he's been a hell of a resource. I mean, anytime I'm curious about what I should do next or how I should approach what I'm doing, he's there for me. So mentorship is amazing.
Yeah. It's funny how things come full circle because, I see some of my mentors that came on this show, just, paying it back, paying it forward, and without them, I don't know where I would be, and I would hope that I could be a mentor to someone else too. I think that's the goal, right? Just keep the legacy going that way and paying it forward. So that's awesome. I love that you all share these stories. I want to get into a question from the audience. All right. Because I see that the man Tyrell Smith, right? Shout out to Tyrell Smith. What are some tips to help with marketing your brand? So he stole one of my questions. Well, good job, Tyrell. Right? So,
we'll have to bring him on as a moderator.
Right? Yeah. He definitely stole one of my questions, but I love it. So to the panelists, right? What are some tips to help with marketing your brand?
I would say be yourself. That's the first thing. Everything's better when it's authentic. So whoever you show up as in front of your audience or your clients, when you're reaching out to them and you're trying to gain some business, be authentic. Right. If you try to be like somebody else, you might get by, but you're not gonna get that connection. Sometimes you have to just forget about being perfect and just more so be authentic. I think that's important in your branding. No matter what business that you're getting into, no matter what the customer is or whatever the service is, just it's important to be yourself and just show up as you. Because trying to be somebody else and trying to do their brand or be their brand, you might get business, but it's not going to be authentic and it won't last long. Eventually, you got to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I have a formula that has worked for me since I adopted it a couple of years ago. Is the KCC formula. The first thing you want to do is to know your brand, just like Jason has said. Who are you really? What is the soul of your brand? What do you represent in the world? A brand is different from a business. I wish we got to that question before this question. But
you're going ahead. You're going ahead. We definitely have that question for sure.
A business is a vehicle for value exchange. Is what we incorporate, is what we set up online, is what we set up physically. But the brand is the perception that business can convey, the representation of the business in the world. So they're two different things. They're not one and the same. So the first thing is to know your brand. Who are you? What do you stand for? What are the principles and the values behind the perception that you want to build in the world? The next thing is communicate the brand. I see many entrepreneurs thinking that marketing is about sales. Marketing is about communicating the value that you carry as a business and as a brand. And you have to do that through different channels and platforms and mediums. The third thing is to consistently serve the brand. Whether you have paying clients or not, you have to be in a consistent place of service. And right now we have tools to serve. You could like what you're doing here. You could have conversations, interviews, host podcasts, share blog posts, share regular educational stuff across social media platforms, consistently serve the brand. So that's the KCC formula that I have adopted that's helped me really exponentially elevate my marketing efforts.
I like that. So it was like KCC.
You see, I'm writing that down too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I gotta definitely. I'll just go back and watch the video again. But
So Jasmine, is that your brand, or is that like the KCC model, something that you came up with?
I came up with it because I realized I had clients. I'm not in marketing, but I often refer my clients to marketing experts. But just to summarize all the efforts they need to put in their business planning, I came up with the formula.
Very nice. Very nice.
For me, I'll probably say that it's important to understand your target audience. So you want to know a little bit about the particular demographic, what their age is, where they live, what they do for a living. You want to know a little bit about the psychographics, how do they think, what is what perception do they need to have for your brand, and what should you be presenting to them? And I also think it's important, once you understand who your target audience is, to understand where they are, because that will allow you to be able to direct your marketing towards them. So in my instance, the majority of my clients, I communicate with them via LinkedIn because I'm working with professionals. So that's where I need to be in order to communicate with them, and for them to feel that I have a visual presence as well, and to establish a presence. So I think that once you understand who your target audience is, it makes the process a whole lot easier for you.
Most definitely.
And to jump off of Titus's point too, I think that when you look at a LinkedIn, a Facebook, or Instagram, even Google, all of these platforms provide you with analytics, right? That you can find out who your target audience is. Because I can tell you that for both Jay Tyler and I, when we first set out with MercerCountyWorks.com, we set out on one path saying this is the audience we wanted to target. But as we began to look at our analytics, it's like, well, no, this is the audience that's actually responding to you. And it kind of just, it blew our mind when we actually looked at it. And so we had to pivot and say, okay, well, this is the audience, we need to start going after, because that's the audience that's, I guess is coming towards us. So.
Yeah. Definitely gravitating towards them. Yep.
Right.
Al Thompson.
I would say to have a plan, but to know, like Titus said, you have to know your audience and how to communicate with that audience. Like for me in the food side, I know people are enticed by the way things look, right? So pictures are a big thing, videos are a big thing, because that's what your first taste with your eyes. So I want to make sure that when I'm putting things out, I'm going to put out pictures and videos, so that okay, this is what it's going to be like. This is what's going to feel like. This is how it's going to look. That's going to be more enticing to you. So I think, one, knowing your audience and how to get to them, but two, being very consistent in your marketing. And again, that goes back to what Jasmine was saying about, you have to be consistent with your brand and know your brand. Like, what is it that you're known for, and make sure that message gets out to your audience.
Yeah, I mean, y'all dropping some bars. I mean, Jasmine with the KCC formula, right? Al Thompson with the first taste is with your eyes. That's a bar right there. It should be part of your branding strategy. I like that.
So Jay Tyler, because I think this is a perfect segue, right? So because I want to get into this question. So we talk about, and I said this earlier. So we talk about knowing your brand, and knowing who your people are, right? So I want to just post this on the screen. So this is a post on, a tweet on Twitter today from Robinhood, who started off, really getting in the business of, once again in 2016, let the people trade. So they were a platform to let, the everyday individuals get into the stock market. But today, when you see the next tweet, in light of the current market volatility, we are restricting transactions for certain securities to position closing only, including AMC, GME. And so it's kind of, they went from, we are here for the people and to give back, I guess let's just say to the little guy, to know we are now protecting big interests, right? So when we talk about branding and knowing your brand, is it more, I guess, was it more important for them to, save their business or keep their brand, right?
This is a tough one. A friend of mine and I had a conversation about this this morning. Robinhood is going to have to really key in on their core values. What do they stand for? To your point, right? They presented themselves as a company that is out there to help the common person, the everyday person, to get ahead, to become wealthy, right? They're robbing from the rich to give to the poor, essentially. And now they're under some pressure, and they give the second message that you highlighted. And like I said, they're going to have to figure out where they stand. And I think that they may have to consider how they're going to go about PR at this point, because if they lose if they lose the message that they've been working to drive home as they've been building their brand over the past few years during this crisis, they stand to lose a lot of their customers who could simply just go to another platform, and who will lose the respect ultimately of the company, because these people came there because of the initial messages that you presented to them and what you communicated as your value proposition to them. So they're going to have to stand on those core values. And I think that knowing your core values is essential in order for you to really build a strong brand.
Absolutely. I do agree with you, Titus. Branding is about value alignment. So when you structure your business around certain values, you then communicate the values, and people who like the values align with you. So one thing that businesses need to understand is, as much as your brand can evolve, your values have to be kind of consistent, because if you are switching values every now and then, people don't trust you, and business is built on trust. So I would say for them, like you said, they have to really go back to the drawing board to understand, to ensure they're not shooting themselves in the foot, because this pandemic is a period, we might be over it sooner than we thought, and you would have to revisit all the communications and the messages that you put out. So for me, I would say understand your essence as a brand, evolve it if you have to. I'm not about people being stuck. I've evolved my brand. When I first started, I was doing residential projects. Now I'm doing executive. I'm working with business executives, and I'm coaching coaches, and I'm working with consultants and lawyers and great professionals. I've evolved my brand, but the values have been the same. The people, their productivity, their effectiveness. So I would say they should rethink the move they're making now. If they're willing to lose their essence in order to stay profitable, then they should. It's their call, really. But yeah.
So and this is kind of related, but I'm not sure, but I want to make a good point. And so the other day, and this goes down to in anybody's business, if you have a client that is, begging to for a discount or for a lower rate because of something, whatever their financial issues are or whatever they're going through, I always tell clients this: I do not want to change my brand or the way that I do business or the service or the value that you're going to get just to fit your budget. And when I say those things to people, they get a better understanding of what my brand is. And what I'm telling them in essence is that I'm not willing to change how I do business just to save you a couple dollars. And Robinhood today, they showed everybody, they showed the world that in order to save money, they are willing to change their brand. So I'm not telling you guys whether you should switch over to a different platform or anything like that. I'm not telling anybody that. But what I'm saying is they showed their hand today. I'm an avid trader. I trade every day. I think they showed their hand today. They showed exactly what they are about. And it's making everybody realize, and most traders feel a little more skeptical about what we already knew. We knew Wall Street runs the game, but today was a very big blow to say, hey, listen, this is what we do, and we're not going to allow the little guy You know, the me and you, what do they call us? They call us retail traders. They're not gonna let retail traders win. And today was just it was a smack in the face, in my opinion. And I think that in any business, you have to stay true to your values in order to keep, to stay in business. You might be more profitable, going on either side of the fence, but in order to keep your brand profitable and keep your brand alive for the long haul, you have to remain true to your value. So,
yeah, I'll agree with everyone else as far as like your brand is more important. But I guess, like Robinhood, if they don't have a business, they can't have a brand, and I think that was their idea, right? So without the business, there's no brand. But if your brand is saying that, like you said, like Titus said, robbing from the rich and, giving to the poor, then that's not what you're doing. So
today was interesting, man.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think, Duncan, in our group, we saw it coming. I think in our investment group we think we saw it coming, but it is what it is.
Right.
Titus, I want to piggyback off of Titus for a second, what he said, because I remember, I don't know if Steve Jobs, rest in peace, I don't know if he said it or not. This is what a lot of people said he said. It's a lot of saids there. So the quote was, "If I had my last marketing dollar, I would spend it on PR." What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, you're talking to me, Justin?
Well, it could be everybody. Okay. I piggybacked off of your comment, but it could be for everyone. Yeah.
Well, essentially, I mean, I think, public relations is an important, part of your brand, right? So we're talking about this being a crisis or potential crisis. And, Robinhood now is in a situation where they've got to address this crisis, and you need to have a strong PR team in order to do that. And your PR people are going to understand what you've been working on in terms of the brand messaging and how you've been working to position the brand since the inception of the company. And they understand what the brand goals are. And, they now are going to have to tailor the message in order to address the issue at hand. And at the same time, not, alienate their custom or upset their customer base. So I think, PR, I think Steve Jobs is right on the money, because, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be, crises that come up, especially the larger you get as an organization, and you've got to be able to manage that properly and effectively. And I think that is also a part of brand management, which is something that I guess we'll be discussing as well today.
Yeah, can I share a bit on that? So for me, thank you for mentioning PR. I was having this conversation with my team early in the year, and I said, this year I'm investing in PR. I've never been a big fan of PR, but I know how PR can position a brand, help the brand build their reputation. So PR is great for reputation management, building perception. If you have something fantastic and some values you think can bring impact to the world, PR can help communicate that. So I would say that businesses should have that consciousness that PR can help drive growth. It can help drive the impact. Because for me, I want to make big impact. And I think that every person that sets out to do business with the right intention wants to impact the world. And you need to leverage the tools of media. That's how we build sensation around brands. That's how I know the media knows how to swing things in a way that something that's so bad can seem good to the general public, right? So I would say businesses need to leverage PR at all times, whether it's when they're trying to communicate their values or when they're trying to maybe deal with controversy and all of that. PR should be like a constant in business.
Yeah, and I think a prime example of that, if you watch the R. Kelly interview, definitely has the right PR person. He says, y'all killing me with this. So I think that's a very good example.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I always remember that Steve Jobs quote, and I work in PR as well, so it's interesting, and I agree with them too, because I've seen people and places and things like spin around 180, like just from the messaging that's put out, and there's also a vested interest and playing both sides. There's companies like, Facebook, you can have one marketing campaign over here, they can play the other side as well, based on the opinion of the people, right? So it's very interesting in terms of what your true brand really stands out, and actually your reputation over time that speaks more, than the PR could speak, obviously. So interesting topic, Duncan. Thanks for bringing that up. So yeah, I mean, it was great. I'm going to go on to the next thing. Obviously. And so, Duncan, we always have an argument about this, about the greatest rapper of all time. And so this question is also going to further that argument as well. But the iconic poet, Nasir Jones, okay, he said something to me, and not to me, I don't know him personally, but he said something on a song called The Message. And he said, a thug changes and love changes and best friends become strangers. So when it comes to your journey in, your brand, did you lose people along the way? Did you lose family, friends? Did they not support you? How did you react to all those things? So just talk to me about that, because things do change, I guess, when you get successful and you're doing something that not everyone else is doing. So talk to me about that, panel, of how you deal with that.
Jay-Z said it best. He said, "You think I worked this hard to stay the same?" Everybody up here, we work hard, to get here. And at the end of the day, nobody wants to stay the same. We have to grow. I mean, everyone grows. Your children grow, flowers grow, businesses grow. Everybody has to grow. If we don't grow, if there's no growth, then you're pretty much stagnant. So what happens is, a lot of times as adults, we grow at different paces. So, some people make it to whatever their goals are or whatever their measure of success is at an earlier age than others. And sometimes somebody's just not on the same timing as you. Right. And, I talk to, because, my immediate circle, everybody's doing something different. But even if we don't speak to each other for, a couple months or even, a year, we still keep in contact, and we still have the same love for each other. We still know that everybody's doing something positive with themselves, and nobody has time to bicker and complain about, hey, you don't even, you don't hang out no more. No, we're working so that we don't stay the same. That's the goal. So I would say, as who I think is the top rapper or the best rapper of all time.
We see it.
I'm gonna have to say Jay-Z.
Preach.
I work hard to stay the same. All right.
Definitely. All right. There you go.
and just because I definitely agree with Jason that Jay-Z is one of the greatest rappers of all time. Definitely better than Nas, but that's a whole nother episode. But I think if you also when we talk about business, if you look at the relationship between himself and Dame Dash, right? Who Dame Dash was definitely in his corner, really pushed Jay's brand. But I think when Jay wanted to take it to the next level, interests changed. They were just heading in two totally different directions. And as you see, Dame Dash went his way, and Jay-Z,
one of my favorite Jay-Z lines: "Too much flossing, too much Sam Rothstein." You know what I mean? So that's what happened with both of them. But very interesting point, Duncan. Panelists, what else? What do you think, Jasmine, Al, Titus, on this subject?
Yeah, I totally agree with Jason and that line from Jay-Z's song. Honestly, when I didn't have this level of consciousness and awareness, I felt that I lost friends because there was lots of value alignment. When there's no synchronicity with people any longer, there is chaos. There's dissonance in the relationship. So you just see that people start to fall off just like that. But now that I'm aware, I've come to realize that in the truest laws of the universe, there are no losses. There's only shedding and evolution, because we are evolutionary. My husband was telling me just yesterday that, do you know humans shed 40 pounds of skin every year? And I'm like, what? So we shed, we grow, we evolve. And once you come to that awareness, you let things take the natural course. If someone is no longer in alignment with you, they don't believe in what you stand for, let them go. If you let them go, you open up yourself to people who will align. Because there's so much that you can take. And if you're filling the spaces of your relationships with people who don't align, who don't resonate with you, you are really shrinking yourself. So it's no losses here. In the laws of the universe, there are no losses. They're just shedding and growing.
This takes me back to The Godfather, where Santino Corleone wanted to go to war and he didn't have a wartime consigliere. You know, I had a situation where I wanted to start a business. I wanted to venture out on my own. And, you know, I'm not an idiot. I'm sitting down here and I'm calculating the different risks that are involved here. And, you know, I had, you know, some individuals who were negative, you know, and doubting Thomases. And I just didn't have time for it. At that point in time, I needed people to give me support. I needed people to give me encouragement. And I couldn't have anyone around me who was going to be negative. Otherwise, I was not going to be able to take this step. And based on my experience and journey so far, you know, I've come to learn that a lot of people are afraid of risk, deathly afraid of risk, and they're not going to put themselves out on the line.
You may have lost them, right?
Did you guys lose me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, they're not going to, you know, they're not gonna put themselves out on the line for their own dreams, let alone your dreams. So they're not going to believe in you because they may not believe in themselves. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily bad people. You know, everyone has fears, but it takes a certain kind of heart to go out there and to be the kind of person that's going to put themselves in a position where they have to eat what they kill, as opposed to depending on that paycheck that's coming every 2 weeks. It's a whole different animal, and I'm pretty sure that everyone on this panel can attest to the different level of the game that's involved when you start this walk.
That stimulus check. And Robin Hood, if you're listening, you're probably gonna have to give a stimulus check as well to the people. If you want people to get back on their platform.
Why not?
I love it.
You definitely robbed the hood today.
Definitely. So I also want to bring up a point as well. I saw a video on YouTube, and a pastor was talking about relationships with people, right? And how he was saying, you know, there is, you know, the water bottle, and then there's like the cap of the water bottle. He said, so a lot of people, what they're doing is you have so much capacity as a water bottle, but you're aligning yourself with people who have the capacity of a water cap. So you're putting all this water into the cap, but it can't take everything that you're giving. Right? But you have the capacity to take what the water cap is given, right? Because you have more space. So he said you have to align with people who have the capacity that you have so you can go back and forth with each other, right? So it was very interesting to see that clip. And I don't know the pastor's name, and it was kind of by chance, but it was a wonderful clip about kind of alignment and the relationships that you would have and how we are upset and why we're upset because we're not aligning with the right people. So it's very interesting. But this question here, I'm going to go back now on script because Jasmine said something earlier that I want to bring to the forefront now. So is there a difference between a brand and a business? Why or why not?
No, I'm working right now.
I say
Should
yes.
I go? Okay.
Well, I was going to say there definitely is a difference between the brand and the business. I think the brand is, you know, what you put out into the world. But if you're doing it in an ideal fashion, your brand and your business align, right? Just like you're saying about alignment, your brand and your business should align, right? So if you're about this thing, what brings you business should be this thing that you're about. So they're different, but essentially they're really the same.
So going back to the video of Gary Vee that you played, I was in a session with a couple of business leaders, and I remember telling them to learn to distinguish their live brand from their marketplace brand. So we need to have, you know, different versions of ourselves. For me, what people generally know me as, my children, my spouse, friends, family, they know me as the life harmonist. Meaning, if I come into your life, I'm harmonizing things out. I'm helping you coordinate all the moving parts. People in my marketplace, my title is productivity consultant, peak performance coach. But the life harmonist, kind of like Al said, aligns with the helping people be more productive. So if we can find ways to create our own life brand or life titles that goes with us as we grow, even if I stop being this productivity consultant today, I'll always be the life harmonist for myself, my family, and my clients. So I would say finding that big picture and, you know, aligning or creating your values and principles around that, then understanding that if you have a business, you have to have a marketplace presence and a marketplace brand. I would say it's great for those, especially for those of us who are impact driven and visionary people.
Very good.
I like that.
Yeah. Anyone else between the question of the brand and the business? Is it different? Is it the same? Why or why not?
And I'll throw this out too, because we talked about this the last time.
Yes.
Part one of our show, and so once again going back to one of the greatest rap artists of all time, Mr. Sean Carter.
He is though. He is.
Thank you. He said in one of his lines, he said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman, right? So when he really talked about him being both the business and the brand, right? So I guess essentially, how do you I guess what's the word I'm looking for? So how do you handle that, right? How do you focus that being both the business and the brand, at the same time, right?
I think I could talk about this a little bit. I say that in my production company, I am a DJ as myself, but the brand is the production company. A lot of times I run into the problem where a client might want me as opposed to somebody else that I would send out. And it's a very difficult conversation to let them know that, hey, listen, it won't be me that's there, but you should feel it as if I'm there, because I'm sending out quality guys that can do the same type of business that I do. And it's similar to construction workers. Anybody that's in a business of service knows that, sometimes people want you. And that's a very difficult thing to do, is to be the brand and the business at the same time, especially when sometimes you can't be there. So I would say that I separate the two as much as I can, but I also try to show up in my marketplace as the brand that has taught every one of my associates or people that work for me, my employees, how to show up as an extension of myself, meaning the same quality service, the same energy, the same professionalism. It's a difficult thing to do, and I think that it is a tough question because you are, if you're the owner of the business and you've set out to be that person that people recognize for the business, it's very difficult to just send somebody. You have to send somebody that's a reflection of you, so that the business has a brand of its own. So I think for me, it's been very difficult. It's one of the things I'm struggling with, because I am trying to scale, but it's very difficult to scale when you don't have 10 of yourself. You know what I mean? So so building the brand and separating the two between myself as the brand and myself as a business has been very difficult. I think there's something I need to work on, and I'm open to ideas. Like, I'm open to any ideas that any of you might, or any feedback you guys might have on it. But I do believe that at some point it does clash. It does come together, and you should separate the two at some point.
Yeah. I think this is interesting that even the panelists, the experts, learn as well. They don't stop learning. So you may feel like you're at a certain level, but they're still learning too, to level up even more. It never stops. So that's something that the audience should definitely consider. I would say for me, before, we started Mercer County Works, I had my own separate brand as a resume writer. And someone told me back in the day, don't put your name as the brand, as the business, because that's what my name was. It was Resumes by Jay Tyler, right? So every time someone wanted something from me, it was me. People weren't expecting anybody else. Hey, your name is on this business. I want you, Right. And 50% of business is about likability. If I like you, then I can like what you offer as well. And so I think for me, it served me in both ways, that, hey, the brand and the business were intertwined, but the business is separated when you build the systems around your brand. So when your systems are in order, now you can scale up, right? Now you have predictability, you have consistency. So once you build the systems, therefore you have a business where you can walk away, come back, and it's still running. And I think the brand gets you there, but you have to build a business to sustain it. I think that's the difference from my point of view as an entrepreneur. So, interesting. So let's go on to something else. Another question here. When do you know your brand, if it's not working? How are you in tune with, like, hey, this is not working? How do you pivot? How do you know when it's time to make a change?
It's a tough question.
If there's no strong alignment with your values, then many people evolve their values as they grow older. Like I said, we get more aware, we develop ourselves consciously and all. So I would say when you get to the place where what people know you for is no longer what resonates with you, then it's time to redo your brand. I'm very big on decluttering, detoxifying, all the things that you could do to your life. You can do it to a business and a brand. So if you have, gained some form of clothing or weight that you don't need, it's time to get rid of it. So if your brand is in a place where it's no longer working because of dissonance, you don't want to keep pushing it. Just sit back and do a review and do an audit of who you are in the world right now. I wish that we can all come to our full awareness early enough so we can start building our brands from that place. But just in case someone hasn't, they don't know who they are in the world and they just figured it out at 40, but they've been in business for the past 10, 20 years. They can sit back and do a review and say, this is who I want to be now. This is the kind of impact I want to create in the world. And this is the perception I want to build around that. And they can always communicate that to the people who've been in their circle.
I would say, so she mentioned Jasmine mentioned a lot of things about growth. I can give a personal testament to this. So my club and DJ name, before I got into the wedding business, was DJ Nasty, and I still do a lot of clubs and a lot of brunches and stuff under that name. But I realized that I wanted to get into more, corporate and weddings and more just the next echelon of events. And what that made me realize is I had to change that name. And it doesn't mean that I stepped away from DJ Nasty, but if you look at TSG Productions, that is the name of my wedding company. And we do mostly weddings and corporate events. I had to change everything up. Now TSG still stands for Tri-State Great, which is my moniker for DJ Nasty, but I had to change it. I had to switch it up. And the reason being is because for two reasons. Number one, not that I'm not completely aligned with DJ Nasty. I still get busy, but at the same time, I realize the client may not see that as something that they would like to be posted on a screen at a corporate event, or that might not be something that somebody wants to say. Hey, if grandma comes over to the DJ booth, what's the DJ's name? So I had to make that realization and say, hey, listen, I got to switch things up. Now, as far as a brand not working, I would say that I never give up. So I would say that, if you have a brand and you're working 100% and you're putting 100% towards that brand, it will work. It may not work exactly the way that you want it to. And those are the key things that you have to recognize. You have to figure out where it's working and what you can do to improve it. But I say never give up on your branding. Never give up on evolving. Never give up on a brand, period, that you started. Because if you had the right mentality or you had the right motivation when you started it, then it really comes down to what are you doing to improve your brand and get the brand recognition. Because if you look at something as simple as I'm trying to think of a brand that we didn't really know about, you heard about it, and then all of a sudden, look at Bitcoin, for example. 10 years ago, I heard about Bitcoin. Nobody else really, talked about it or anything. But 10 years later, look at Bitcoin and where it's at. It's a brand that you know. And that's because they worked hard on building that brand. They worked hard on making this something that's recognizable. Somebody could have came up with any brand and called it anything. And if they work hard towards it, or if we work hard towards any brand, we'll make things happen and make it recognizable in the marketplace. So I don't believe in giving up on a brand. And that's just my opinion. I feel like if you have a brand and you work towards it, you should be able to make it happen.
I think that if you have a problem, if you are no longer attracting the type or volume or volume of customers that you're used to, the cause of that could be maybe your service delivery is not the same as it used to be, or maybe you need to tweak or revamp the marketing or the messaging that you've been using, or even your sales copy. So once you see that either the type of customers, you may have a tier, a certain tier of customers. You might have your high-end customer, and then you have your low-end customer, and you find that you're no longer getting the big fish. Your top tier customers are no longer interested in your service or buying your service. Maybe you're doing something wrong, and then you need to re-strategize and pivot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's about it for me. It's about, am I getting the clients that I want to get? Am I getting people who are interested in my style? So if I'm getting someone who wants my services but expects something totally different, then obviously the message I'm putting out and what they want aren't the same. So there's something I'm doing wrong for them to come to me about X thing that's not aligned with my brand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just go to Jason's point too. And I know we said this in our resume show. So when we talk about once again managing your career brand, I still see it all the time. Your emails, people, right? If I see on the block 609 at hotmail.com, that's going to be a red flag, for me. So definitely, it's subtle and little things that you have to think about when managing your brand. And I guess really just people are looking really at everything, right? And even when we talk about your brand, not only are we just talking about the person, but we're going to go to Google, we're going to go to social media, we're going to look through everything, one, to see obviously to mitigate any risk that you may bring in the future, but then also to make sure you're a good fit for our brand as well. So you have to be mindful of all those things as well.
Can I say something to that, Duncan? They're called reputation assets, and we all have them at our fingertips. People don't know they have assets that can either make or mar their reputation.
So Jasmine, Jay Tyler is usually my smart word translator. I think you might have just took his spot, okay? Because he usually upgrades my language for me. So I think you may have just took his spot.
Yeah, I tip my hat off. If I had a hat, I'll tip it off to you. I like that. Like that. Very good. So maybe we could talk about, I'll pay you a little bit to use that word, right? These are terminology.
Word of the day.
Yes, definitely. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. So question for you all, because I think sometimes when people see you representing your brand, they think it's just you. So do you have a team that manages different aspects of your business or your brand? What do they do? If you do have a team, how do you structure it?
I'll go first, I guess. I do have a team. I have one person that's actually my uncle. He's in charge of my photo booth department. He does all the photo booth rentals and all the maintenance on the equipment and all that stuff. He handles pretty much everything photo booth related. I have a equipment manager who handles all the equipment, makes sure everything gets in the shop when it needs to. These are little things that I can't necessarily do on my own. And if I did do it on my own, it would take me away from sales, marketing, management, things like that. So it's you have to delegate. You have to have people on your team that can handle tasks that you don't need to do, so that you can focus on bringing in new business. I also I have somebody that takes care of social media marketing, because that's something that I don't have the time to do, and it's kind of something that I don't want to do. I'm not good at it, so I want to make sure that somebody else who's better at it can handle that. I think that it's important to have these people around. A lot of times when you start a business, you're doing everything yourself, so it's hard to focus on new business and bring the clients in when you have to do everything yourself. So you have to spend the money to actually be able to free up some time to bring in new business. So definitely you have to have a team. Shout out to my team. Shout out to everybody that helps me, get through the day-to-day task of running the business.
Yeah. Same here. I have a strategist who helps me overview my product and my processes, because I'm very evolutionary. I'm consistently looking at what's new, what can evolve, like the way we onboard our clients and the way that we take them through the coaching process, because my primary service right now is coaching and consulting. I do trainings and masterclasses and workshops, but I'm primarily a coach. I coach from lawyers to doctors to executives and to other coaches. So I have somebody who's always helping do my strategy with me. I also have somebody who does the digital presence. My website has to be 24/7 active. We have our online platforms that host our courses. We have online courses. So there's somebody who's consistently managing that to ensure that When customers come, we are interacting with them. So definitely, my business is growing. We're expanding. So we're going to add more people to the team. We need somebody who's great at marketing and public relations. But every business needs to find support and leverage the expertise of other people, whether it is somebody who can help you do your strategy, or somebody who can help you set up your processes, or help you manage, like Jason said, your online presence, which is such a big thing. With the digital transformation, every business needs to be online. So we need, that's serious for me.
Yeah, I think that, for a lot of folks, they start off independent, and, because of technology, you can really leverage a virtual model. So, I have a virtual assistant to help out. I also contract with writers to help me as well if I have overflow work. And what this allows me to be able to do is to concentrate my efforts on other areas of the business that need my attention. So I think a virtual model is pretty easy to employ. And, there's a lot of websites out there such as Fiverr and other places where you can actually source, individuals to help you. And that makes it a little bit easier for you to be able to scale your business and scale operations.
And of course, with that, like Jason said earlier, it's when I switch to event sites, people expect me to bartend and make the cocktails when I have my team doing it. So I'm like, I need to be able to interact with my guests and like manage my team instead of making cocktails. I guess a lot of clients don't understand that. So I think it's a challenge to understand. But once the events are done and the events are happening, kind of see how my team can handle it. And I think having a competent, wise, and a team that buys into what the brand is about is very important. Like you said earlier, that's probably, honestly, at least for me, like the hardest part about it is like getting your team to buy in and stay consistent with your brand.
So I do have a question that just arose from this conversation. So how do you know when to hire someone? Like, think about that first person you hired that you're paying, or someone that you brought on to the business. How do you know when it's time to say, you know what, I need to hire someone or bring someone on to handle this?
Number one, when you're feeling overwhelmed with all the tasks, then when you know that there are things, you're not overwhelmed, but you're spending your time doing the tasks that you're not the best at, and they're not high leverage tasks. So you need to find someone who can do that, so you can focus on the things that bring more value to you, because we're value creators, value carriers, out on the streets of the world looking for who to exchange our value with. And I don't want to be spending my time, though there's so much value I carry, doing things that bring little value in return. So I would say, first of all, when you are super duper overwhelmed with all the things, you need to hire help. Secondly, when you are mostly doing the things that don't bring the most value, you need to look for how to delegate that to other people.
I agree. I think that the point that if I did the whole, customer service management system, online, and I was doing pretty much everything still myself. And I realized at some point that, doing all this there's a burnout period. So there's a point where, if you're bringing in the customer, doing the marketing, then you have to, do the service. When you're doing all of those things, you lose a little bit of yourself, of your personal time, and you start to, even though you're making all the money, because at that point you're pretty much making every dollar, you're saving a lot, but at the same time you burn out, and that burnout is going to be the difference between you taking the extra time to take that one call that calls a little bit before your off time. If you got somebody calling at 7 o'clock and you've been burnt out all day, that 7 o'clock phone call could be the difference. It could be a $5,000, revenue for you, but you might not want to take that call because you're burnt out from doing all these little tedious jobs that take away from, your profitability. So I would say when you get to that point where you feel the burnout and you're at the point where, you, like Jasmine said, you're doing the tasks that don't bring in the most revenue for you, then it's time to hire somebody. And it's tough. It's tough hiring somebody because you always feel like you can do everything yourself and that nobody can do it as good as you, or nobody's going to do it properly. And that was probably the biggest struggle, is finding people that can do exactly what you do, the way that you would like it done, especially on the administrative side. So that's really a tough piece, especially for new entrepreneurs.
That's where SOPs come in. You need to have standard operating procedures. Your processes have to be outlined. Your policies have to be detailed. You need to have this documented. So when someone onboards with your business, you just hand them the processes and trust that they can follow through and do of course, your onboarding will include some training and some helping them incorporate themselves effectively. So all of those problems can be handled.
All right.
And so I wanted to ask a question before that as well, Jay Tyler, if I can.
Yeah,
so how do you get your team to buy into your brand?
Clarity.
Mm-hmm.
So many businesses are not clear on who they are, the kind of impact they want to make in the world. One thing that has been proven psychologically, the science is there to tell us that people like to know or feel that they're a part of something bigger than them. Mm-hmm. So if your business is clear on how the world is going to be a better place because you exist, humans want to naturally align with you. And this is one of the struggles of the modern day entrepreneur. They don't know why they exist. They don't know why they're here. They're essentially driven by survival. And if survival is calling the shots in your business, you can attract quality humans to align with you. So your business has to go past survival and go to essence. It has to be an essential concept, something that can help make life better for other people. And one of my fears is hiring people and thinking, oh, they would just ruin my entire process. But if you switch things up and realize that you are empowering somebody who will then empower their family, empower a community, imagine how great the world would be if we just do business to empower people. It's much better.
I agree. A lot of times when I'm hiring, I look for somebody that has something to bring to the table, meaning that not just there for a paycheck. I'll give an example. You know, sometimes we hire people based on just the skill set. And we say to ourselves, yes, this person is perfect for the job. They have the experience. They've done this before. I know this person will be the right person. But if it's just based on just the experience and the skill set and not based on them bringing something different to the table, then eventually, you know, in my opinion, they usually end up moving on to whatever the next thing that sparks their interest. So I always look for somebody that has something that they could bring to the table. And like Jasmine said, empower them to bring that to the table, and not only bring it to the table, but, quarterback that situation, whatever that project is or whatever it is. This is yours, show me how this can help us grow and how we can, bring this into the system and how it's going to make us a better team. So empowering somebody to do things on their own, but not only do things on their own, but bring something new to the table that they can call their own, is always a good look, and it definitely keeps people around a little longer. So
indeed,
just a little tidbit as far as hiring goes.
Nice.
All right. So we're getting to time that we're going to conclude. So we have a couple more questions. These are going to be interesting questions, right, to end the show. But this next one, y'all should be sitting down. Y'all should be ready to go because it's gonna be random. All right. But you know the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, right? I think we all have seen this movie or know this movie, right? At the end, I don't know if it was the end. I think it was the beginning, actually, of the movie where they were talking about, well, sell me this pen. I think he ended that way at a conference. Sell me this pen, right? So I'm not going to ask you to sell me this pen and why we should use it, but I'm going to ask you, how do you sell your brand? If you had 30 seconds, tell me how you would sell your brand.
So gone are the days when leaders would be high performing in their businesses or in their work and struggling in their relationships or in their lifestyles. And gone are the days when leaders didn't have a high level of self-awareness. The leaders that I interact with every day want to be very, quote unquote, woke. They want to be very aware. They want to be elevated to show up with the best decision-making skills, with the best judgments, with the best creativity. They want to have ideas at the tip of their fingers. And to do that, they need to have peak performance strategies. They need to build sustainably. They need to develop themselves and ensure that they are thriving in their lives. And that's what I do for leaders. Once they hire me, the guarantee is you're going to thrive. you're going to have it all. So the concept of you can't have it all, I'm not about that. I'm about, I want to have it all. I want to flourish on all across all areas of my life. So that's one key promise I bring to leaders.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm sold.
Right. So I want it all.
Yeah, I want it all too.
Okay? That's right. That's
You know what I
the line right there. I want it all.
Right. Not like Fabulous, the song. He said, "I'll trade it all." No, I want it all. I ain't gonna trade it all. I want it all. All right.
Follow, man.
Right. All right. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead. How would you sell your brand?
I would say for the production company, a lot of times we're looking for high quality production and high quality entertainment with professionalism. And what I've found is the key to my business is I'm able to give you the quality, but the professionalism, but also a little swag. We're not going to be doing the corporate events where nobody's dancing and everybody's sitting around. No, we're having a good time. We're turning up. Everybody's going to have a good time. We're very interactive with the crowd, and you're going to get high quality professional production. So what I could say is that in my business, when I was looking for a DJ for my wedding in particular, I was looking for somebody that had high energy, that had the production qualities, but also was able to turn up. And that's what I brought to the table as far as for my clients now. And that's exactly, what I plan to do for future clients. So I want to make sure that, you understand what you're getting. We are not the traditional wedding DJ company. We turn up, we have fun, but we're professional, all clean music, and the best production you could possibly have.
Very nice. When I renew my wedding vows,
I got you.
I'm calling you. Okay, we're gonna have you there. Yes, sir.
Definitely call them. Definitely, it's a good show for sure.
Definitely.
Call. All right, who's next?
I'll go. Experience cocktails. So you have cocktails, and you can drink a vodka soda. You can drink an old fashioned in any bar in the world. But what's going to change that experience for you? It's elevating the experience. And this is what we do with experience cocktails. Whether that's luxury, beauty, science, that's what we do. And we're going to bring that to your event by doing things that you've never seen before. We're going to blow your guests' minds. We're going to blow your minds. But more importantly, we're going to blow our own minds. So that's what we bring with experience cocktails.
I'm excited. He had me at old fashioned.
I got a link with you, man, for the restaurant, Al.
Absolutely.
Definitely should.
Yeah, these have all been great. In today's difficult job market, everyone is looking for an edge. My expertise is really in providing professionals with the coaching and support needed to effectively brand themselves so that they can have a successful career transition. Whether it's helping you to develop your digital brand, professional profile, strengthening your interview skills, or working with you on your search strategy, Media and Career Services helps you to develop the skills that you need to successfully land your target role. If you've been displaced, laid off, or simply considering a career move so that you can get to the next level in life, contact me today.
That was smooth. I like that. That was smooth.
Yeah.
I should
like
have
water.
That was smooth. That was very smooth.
Like water. All right. So almost at the conclusion, right? So if anyone came into this show, like any listener that came in right now who missed the rest of the broadcast, what's the biggest takeaway that you can give to that listener, before we end the show? What can we say to them?
I would say take your time. Figure out who you are and what you want your brand to be about. And then once you have that, be consistent with your messaging. Every time you put out any kind of marketing or any kind of messaging to the public, make sure that you're being consistent, that you know who you are as a brand, and you're going to provide what you say you're going to provide.
I like it.
I would say work backwards, meaning find the goal. As Al said, find the goal and work backwards. Figure out how to a detailed plan to get to that goal. So sometimes we just start things and we don't actually get to the place where we want to go because we're not sure. So planning it out and having a detail oriented plan to get to the top or to whatever that goal is for you, and working backwards, meaning, finding out what the top is and then starting from the bottom, figuring out what the steps are in the middle, and start from the bottom and make your way up. Take your time and don't be scared when you get a no, because you can get 1,000 no's before that yes. And that's one thing I learned in business. 1,000 no's doesn't mean anything. If you get that one yes, that's going to make it happen. So don't be discouraged by the no's.
Indeed.
I would say great leaders have a high sense of value and principles. And what branding and business is about is communicating value. So please develop your value, your brand and your business around the values that you represent in the world. While you're understanding the difference between both, the business is a vehicle. You can exit the vehicle tomorrow. The brand is a perception of that business that people have, and it can go with you for a lifetime. So understand that, because even investors would want you to have an exit strategy within your business. So make sure that you can detach the business from the brand and make sure that they both also align with the values. There's a value alignment there. So leaders have a high sense of value. And what we do with business and branding is simply value exchange, value communications.
All right. And then the last thing, this is the most important thing. Where can people find you, right? On social media, your website. We want people to connect with you for this wonderful wealth of exchange in terms of knowledge. So Jason, start first. Where can we find you on social media or for your website?
TSGproductions.com is the website for the production company. Tri-State Great Pro is the Instagram for that, for the Gold Room, which is a restaurant in Brooklyn. The food is great. We're closed right now due to the pandemic and no indoor dining. But once March 8th, 9th, I think we're going to start March 7th that weekend, 7th, 8th, and 9th. We're going to open back up. GoldRoomBK.com is the website. So if you're looking for some good food, good vibes, good drinks, I'm gonna talk to Al about some drinks. We're gonna put something together. Possibly. Yeah, let's definitely link and talk about that. But GoldRoomBK.com is the website. GoldRoomBK is the Instagram as well, at GoldRoomBK for the restaurant. Trucking company, I just started that, so I don't have the website up yet, but JD Transportation, that should be coming soon. All right.
Very nice.
Good. Jasmine, you're next. So where can we find you on social media? Where can we find your website?
My personal brand is across all social media platforms as Jasmine Onyuku, just as my name is spelled. If you type #TheLifeHarmonist, I'll definitely be popping up. My business brand right now that I'm using to drive my services is the Organizing Academy. It's also the same thing across social media platforms. On our website, you'll find more information about the services that we provide. And these are the two areas, the two places across the digital space where you can find and connect with me right now.
Mm-hmm. All right, there we go. Love
Thanks
it.
for that.
Yes, definitely. Mr. Thompson,
You can
where
find
can we find you?
You can find me largely on Instagram at Drunken Mixologist, at Experience Cocktail Club, and at DC's.DMV's Finest. And then you can find me on at althompson.biz for cocktail classes, consulting, anything you might need cocktail-wise.
All right. Then, Mr. Titus Ash, where
Yeah.
can we find you?
Yeah, so I live on LinkedIn. So you simply go to LinkedIn and you put in Titus Ash and you'll see my profile pop up. You can also visit my website at www.midiancareerservices.com, MIDIAN, careerservices.com. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Midian Career Services, Instagram at instagram.com at Midian Career Services. And then finally, to book an appointment with me, you can contact me at calendly.com/Midian Career Services.
There we go. And Titus, we're gonna link offline as well.
Okay, awesome.
So, yeah, definitely will. I want to thank the panelists for sharing their time today with us. They could be doing anything else, but they're here, with us talking. Right. So we really appreciate that. And then to the audience that came through, show some love, drop some comments in, and are furthering what we do at Mercer County Works. We appreciate you very much, so thank you. Thank you so much. Duncan, give us some parting shots.
Oh, definitely. Well, first of all, I want to say as my Facebook timeline is going crazy, rest in peace to Cicely Tyson.
Wow.
She just passed away. So definitely.
Yeah, rest in peace. Yes.
Definitely a legend in her own right as well. So definitely want to say rest in peace to her from the Rise and Grind show. Yeah. But before we go, we want to say thank you to all of our viewers. Make sure you go to www.mercercountyworks.com. We are the fastest growing job engine in the state of New Jersey. Real jobs, real resumes, real results. If you're looking for a new career change, a new job, check us out, www.mercercountyworks.com. And so once again, we look forward to having you. I think we'll be here again next Thursday. At 6:30, so we definitely did a double header this month, but we just want to say thank you. Look forward to having you all here back again next Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, because I know we have some people in other countries viewing the show as well.
Yep.
Appreciate you all. Peace.
Thank you.
Much love.